We are 9.5 behind Bottas and 0.8 a lap quicker.
What do you mean? We are behind Bottas.
Confirm we are behind Bottas.
How did we end up behind him? Why we didn't stop earlier?
He was leading the race, Kimi.
Ah, okay, I thought that they were
Räikkönen was born in Espoo, Finland. He had tried a long line of success in go-karting from age 10. His first race outside Finland was in Monaco when he was 15 years old. During the race, the steering wheel broke, but he continued, informing his mechanic by frantically waving the steering in the air on the home straight. Can you imagine that? He had always been on serious. But hey, that's Kimi the man summed up in one superhero. Just like James Hunt, he will go on to win Formula One World Championship, becoming one of F1's great, and retiring from the great sport. Not just once but twice, but the second one definitely could be the end of a dynamic up and down career that was. Now let's go all the way back to 1998, where it all started first. In 1998, he was first in the Nordic Championship at Vanya in Norway. In 1999, Räikkönen placed second in the European Formula Super A Championship for the Dutch PDB racing team, utilizing a Gillard chassis. He also competed in the Formula Ford Euro Cup. By the age of 20, he had won the British Formula Renault Winter Series of '99, winning the first 4 races of the year. In the year 2000, he won 7 out of 10 events in the Formula Renault UK Championship. Combined over these 2 series of Formula Renault, he won 13 out of 23 events, a 57% win rate. Now, in my opinion, that's a good enough reason to get in to the doors of F1. So let's see how he actually broke into F1. Now, on the basis of those results, Peter Sauber gave the Finn a test with the Sauber Formula 1 team in September 2000 at the Mugello circuit. On just the second day of the test, Räikkönen lapped half a second quicker than regular driver Pedro Diniz. Sauber had kept the news of his test quiet to distract potential competitors, internally referring to Räikkönen as Eskimo. After further tests in Jerez and Barcelona, Sauber signed Räikkönen for the 2001 season. However, some critics, including FIA President Max Mosley, voiced concerns over granting an F1 super license to such an inexperienced driver. Räikkönen had only 23 car races to his credit at that time. He was nevertheless granted his license from the FIA after a performance delivered promised by his team boss, Peter Sauber, and scored a championship point in his debut at the 2001 Australian Grand Prix. Legend actually has it that Räikkönen was asleep 30 minutes before that race. Well, in all, Räikkönen had a solid debut year, achieving 4 points, scoring finishes, and 8 finishes in the top 8, completing the year with 9 points. Räikkönen, along with teammate Nick Heidfeld, helped Sauber to what was then its best result of 4th place in the Constructors' Championship. In 2003, Kimi Räikkönen even leveled up further as it appeared that McLaren had finally produced a car that was capable of challenging for the title. And yes, at that time he had moved to McLaren from Sauber. Throughout that season, Räikkönen, Pablo Montoya and Michael Schumacher would fight it out for the championship. The season will also feature Kimi picking up his first win in Formula 1 in Malaysia. And guess who? Alonso also got the first podium, his first ever podium in F1 in that same race. Yeah, I'm talking about Fernando Alonso the Great. What also became evident was the level of consistency that Kimi was able to display throughout that season. McLaren was arguably on average the slowest out of the trio of itself, Williams and Ferrari. Räikkönen, however, would be the most consistent driver throughout that season. Had it not been for Ferrari and Michael Schumacher's late competitive surge, Räikkönen would have been the champion in 2003. Just imagine that. Well, however, Räikkönen finished the season second in the championship behind the German, cementing his place amongst the elite of the sport. The 2004 season saw McLaren perform horribly and left Räikkönen with no chance of a title challenge. So 2004 was a downturn for what 2003 was. Things took a turn for the better, however, in 2005, and in the eyes of many, the F1 world saw for the first time what Kimi Räikkönen in prime looked like. Kimi was a beast in that time. Of course, I wasn't there, but I've heard a lot. Fernando Alonso ended up winning the title rather comfortably. Kimi Räikkönen was the driver of the season in the eyes of many. You can guess who those eyes were. 2005 was the season when the Finn was not only considered the fastest driver on the grid, but his placing was rather undisputed. He picked up 7 wins that season and would have picked up many more and the title as well, if not for the poor reliability he suffered from throughout the year. Some spectacular performances like the race at Suzuka, Spa, or even the one at Monaco were evidence of the level at which Räikkönen was driving. Moving on from 2005, when McLaren would under-deliver yet again in 2006 with an uncompetitive car, Räikkönen would pack his bags and move to Ferrari for 2007. Now we go on to 2007, the year that was, the year that would change the game for good. The 2007 season was a redemption of some sorts for Kimi. He took an early lead in the championship with a win in his very first race as a Ferrari driver. That was a nice debut, nice way to start your career at Ferrari. Räikkönen, however, would fall down the standings as a young Lewis Hamilton and a prime Fernando Alonso driving for McLaren at that time would take the battle to another level while Ferrari struggled for competitiveness. The season unfolded, however, Alonso and Hamilton would constantly trip over each other, providing the perfect opportunity for Räikkönen to pick up the pieces. The Finn made the most of the situation by leveling up his performances. He would clinch his first ever World Championship in the final race of the season. Now you wonder how many points he used in winning that. He used just 1 point. In so many ways, this was vindication for the amount of hard work he had put in over the year and the litany of bad luck he had to endure to finally realize his dream. But then things took a turn for the worse for the Iceman. Or should I say, he just felt winning one championship was enough, like his mentor, James Hunt. In 2008, pressure of winning the championship in 2007, that was the biggest crown of his career. And something seemed to change in him. In 2008, he still displayed the kind of speed that helped him become the champion in 2007. What he also displayed, surprisingly, was a lack of urgency when it came to the title challenge. The intent that was there before was lacking now, and it showed. The 2008 season even saw him lose out to his teammate at Ferrari. He was resigned to playing the role of the second driver and helping Felipe Massa in the latter's title challenge. Now, the fall in competitiveness saw Ferrari sign Fernando Alonso as Raikkonen's replacement for the 2010 season. And after that season, Kimi retired. Now let's actually see what caused him to retire in 2010. Near the end of the 2009 season, Ferrari announced that Raikkonen would be leaving the team, despite having a contract to race for them in 2010. He would be replaced by Fernando Alonso, and he was expected to return to McLaren alongside Lewis Hamilton, but negotiations with the team failed. Raikkonen was then linked to Mercedes GP, which was just starting, but the team eventually signed Michael Schumacher and Nico Rosberg that year to retire F1 before it pulled out of Formula 1, offered Raikkonen a driving contract to replace Timo Glock in 2010. The BBC reported that he refused the contract, owing to wanting to drive a race-winning car, not to mention Toyota not offering a large enough salary. On 17 November 2009, his manager, Steve Robertson, confirmed that Raikkonen would not drive in Formula 1 in the 2010 season. But during 2010 itself, rumors emerged once again about another possible Raikkonen comeback, this time with the Renault team in 2011. This followed a resurgence in Renault's form and the fact that the Russian Vitaly Petrov had yet to be re-signed like a teammate Robert Kubica. Team principal Eric Bollea claimed he had been contacted by Raikkonen in connection with a possible return, but said that although he was flattered by Raikkonen's alleged display of interest, I would have to speak personally with him first, look him in the eyes to see if I see enough motivation there for him to return to F1. It doesn't make sense to hire somebody, even a former world champion, if you cannot be sure that his motivation is still 100%. Why should you invest in somebody who leaves you guessing? However, Raikkonen angrily shut down the suggestion that he would race, claiming that Renault had simply used his name for their own marketing purpose. In 2012, the Iceman returned back to F1 with Lotus. Now, during his time out from F1, Kimi wasn't just quiet. He actually went away to keep on racing. He went to WRC, the World Rally Championship, and raced. You can imagine, this guy loves racing so much. The next few years saw Kimi Räikkönen try his hand at rallying with limited success. When Lotus came calling in 2012, however, the Finn would sign up with the Enstone-based unit. Before his return, there was intrigue yet again around Raikkonen, especially around how he would fare in F1 after a 2-year layoff. More importantly though, the ghost of the 2008-2009 season were still quite fresh in the minds of everyone in the paddock. Not everyone was confident that Raikkonen could return and perform at a very high level at Lotus. In the 2012 season, however, he would slowly put all these doubts to rest. In a season where being consistent and putting together results race after race was a secret recipe for success, Raikkonen would shine the brightest. He would consistently extract the best possible results from the car and perform at the level of the other elite drivers on the grid. So you can see, when it's time to get serious, Kimi Räikkönen knows how to do it. In a season where he was expected to merely be a journeyman, Kimi Räikkönen would finish third in the standings with a famous win at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. For those who don't know, it was a race that featured the most famous...
Okay, Kimi, we need to keep working all 4 tyres, please. Keep working all 4
Yes,
tyres.
yes, I'm doing all the time. We don't have to remind every second. Just leave me alone, I know what to do.
2013 season further proved to the doubters that Raikkonen was still driving at a very high level and would see him score as many as 8 podiums that season. At this juncture, was he the fastest driver on the grid? Of course not. He was, however, fast and consistent enough to cause a bother to the best of them on the grid.
Charlie now, we're on to Charlie now.
This guy is a f***ing show. That guy keeps pushing me off the circuit every time when I'm next to him. So if that's legal, then I will do the same next to him.
Then in the 2014 season, Kimi Räikkönen would switch camps to a familiar home. He would move back to Ferrari on what was a very lucrative contract at the time. You can definitely expect that. It was during this time that the Iceman would make his return to, well, anonymity. The 2014 season saw him return to the Scuderia, a team that was so focused on making Fernando Alonso the world champion. Räikkönen was pretty much a forgotten entity, basically a relic, and that remained the case even after Sebastian Vettel joined the team. While Kimi's performances did improve to an extent, the driver that was feared by everyone on the grid in 2005 was just not there anymore. Räikkönen turned up for Ferrari, did whatever he could, and then went back home. In 2019, Ferrari decided to allow young Charles Leclerc the opportunity to drive for the Italian team. This meant Räikkönen would eventually find a new home in Alfa Romeo Sauber. Time to go home. Time to go back to where it all started. And we'll spend 3 seasons driving a car that was, on a good day, a midfield competitor. His time at Alfa Romeo didn't have too many highlights for Räikkönen, especially compared to the heights he reached earlier in his career. Eventually, the Finn decided to call it a day at the end of the 2021 season. He once said he was having a shit when Pele gave Schumacher a lifetime award in Brazil. That was in 2006 Brazilian Grand Prix. In his first race, legend has it that he was sleeping 30 minutes before the race. In 2006 Monaco GP, his car broke down as the heat shield had exploded and he was forced to retire. He went from his car straight to his nearby yacht, fully dressed in his racing suit, and immediately relaxed in his jacuzzi. This guy got no chills. Did you know that Kimi has a motocross world championship team named Ice One? It was founded in 2011. Yeah, you guessed it. When he left F1. Yes, he had time to do that. Ice One Racing, that's the name. He's a Christian also. And snowboarding and ice hockey are his hobbies. That's for the fanboys and fangirls in the comment section. Kimi once said, "I don't want to put some kind of limits on how you remember. I mean, I don't care much because I luckily been able to do most of the things how I wish to do it. And whatever they remember, good way or bad way, it's a memory and it's fine for me."
Huge Finnish support here. Maybe a couple of words in Finnish for your fans before we go back to English.
Well, I think they all understand English, but
good point, fair enough.
It's